Hey everybody. So, sorry it's taken so long. Again, I really need to get a schedule down for these. So if you guys would comment what day or days you would like to see these videos uploaded, that would be really great. Give me a frame of reference. Um, but this is The Count of Monte Cristo, Chapter 44, Matrimonial Plans. The day following the scene, Monsieur Debray's carriage did not make its appearance at the customary hour to pay a little visit to Madame Danglars on his way to the office. She, therefore, ordered her carriage to be brought round and went out. This was only what Danglars expected. He gave instructions that he should be informed directly Madame returned, but when 2 o'clock struck and she was not yet back, he went to the chamber and put his name down to speak against the budget. From midday until 2 o'clock, Danglars stayed in his office, deciphering telegrams and heaping figure upon figure, till he became increasingly depressed. Among other visits, he received one from Major Cavalcanti, who, as stiff and exact as ever, presented himself precisely at the hour named the previous evening to transact his business with the banker. On leaving the chamber, where he had shown marked signs of agitation during the sitting, and had been more bitter than usual against the ministry, Danglars once more entered his carriage and told the coachman to drive him to number 30, Avenue des Champs-Élysées. Monte Cristo was at home, but he was engaged with someone and asked Danglars to wait a moment in the salon. While the banker was waiting, the door opened, and a man in priest's garb entered. He was evidently more familiar with the house than the Baron, for, instead of waiting, he merely bowed, and passing into the other room, disappeared. A minute later, the door opened through which the priest had entered reopened, and the Monte Cristo made his appearance. "Pray excuse me, Baron," said he, "but one of my good friends, Abbé Busoni, whom you may have seen pass by, has just arrived in Paris. It is a long time since we saw each other, and I could not make up my mind to leave him at once. I trust you will find the motive good enough to forgive me keeping you waiting. But what ails you, Baron? You look quite careworn. Really, you alarm me. A careworn capitalist is like a comet who presages some great misfortune to the world." "Ill luck has been dogging my steps for the last few days," said Danglars, "and I received nothing but bad news." "Did you really lose by that affair in Spain?" "Assuredly. 700,000 francs out of my pocket, that is all." "How can an old hand like you make such a mistake?" "Oh, it was all my wife's fault. She dreamed Don Carlos had returned to Spain, and she believes in dreams. She says it is magnetism, and assures me that what she dreams is bound to come true. But do you mean to say you have not heard of this affair? It created such a stir. I certainly heard something about it, but I was ignorant of the details. I know so little about the exchange." "You do not speculate, then?" "How could I? It gives me quite enough to do to regulate my income, and if I were to speculate, I should be compelled to employ an agent and a cashier in addition to my steward. But in regard to the Spanish affair, I believe it was not only the Baroness who dreamed of Don Carlos's return. Did not the newspapers say something about it?" "Do you believe all the newspapers say?" "Oh, dear, no. But I thought that the Messenger was an exceptionally reliable paper, and that the news it published was telegraphic and therefore true." "That is just what is so inexplicable. So you've lost about 700,000 francs this month." "About that. Have you ever reflected on the fact that 7 times 700,000 francs makes about 12 millions? Be careful, my dear Danglars, be on your guard." "What a bad calculator you are!" exclaimed Danglars, calling to his assistance all his philosophy and art of dissimulation. "Money has flowed into my coffers from other successful speculations. I have lost a battle here and there, but my Indian navy will have taken some galleons, my Mexican pioneers will have discovered some mine." "Very good, very good. The wound is still there, however, and will reopen at the first loss." "No, it will not, for I tread on sure ground," continued Danglars in the idle language of the mountebank crying out his wares. "3 governments must fall before I am involved in difficulties." Then, turning the conversation into other channels, he added, "Tell me what I am to do for Monsieur Cavalcanti." "Give him money, of course, if he has a letter of credit and you think the signature good." "The signature is good enough. He came to me this morning with a bill for 40,000 francs payable at sight, signed by Busoni, and sent by you to me with your endorsement. Naturally, I immediately counted him out the 40 banknotes." Monte Cristo nodded in token of approval. "But that is not all," continued Danglars. "He has also opened a credit account for his son. May I ask how much he allows the young man?" 5,000 francs a month." 60,000 francs a year, I thought as much." said Monte Cristo, shrugging his shoulders. How niggardly these Cavalcantis are. What does he expect a young man to do with 5,000 francs a month? But of course, if the young man needs a few thousand more, do not advance anything. His father will never pay you. You do not know what misers these ultra-millionaires are. Keep to the terms of the letter. Do you just mistrust this Cavalcanti, then? I would give him 10 millions on his signature. Yet how simple he is. I should have taken him for nothing more than a major. The young man is better, though. Yes, a little nervous, perhaps, but on the whole quite presentable. He has apparently been traveling with a very severe tutor and has never been to Paris before. All Italians of high standing marry amongst themselves, do they not? Asked Danglars carelessly. They like to unite their fortunes, I believe. I believe they do as a rule, but Cavalcanti is an eccentric man who never does as others do. I'm convinced he has his son to France to choose a wife. Do you really think so? I'm sure of it. The boy is sure to marry a Bavarian or a Peruvian princess. He will want a crown or an Eldorado. No, the great lords from beyond the Alps frequently marry into plain families. Are you thinking of finding a wife for Andrea, my dear Monsieur Danglars, that you ask so many questions? It would not be a bad speculation. I fancy, after all, I am a speculator. You are not thinking of Mademoiselle Danglars, I presume. I thought she was engaged to Albert. Monsieur Moncrief and I have certainly discussed this marriage, but Madame de Moncrief and Albert, you're not going to tell me it would not be a good match. Oh, I think Mademoiselle Danglars is as good as Monsieur de Moncrief. Mademoiselle will have a good dowry, no doubt, especially if the telegraph does not play many more tricks, but then Albert has a good name. I like mine as well, said Danglars. Your name is certainly popular, and it gives distinction to the title that was intended to distinguish it. At the same time, you have too much intelligence not to realize that according to prejudices, which are too deeply rooted to be exterminated, a patent of nobility which dates back 5 centuries confers greater luster than that which only dates back 20 years. That is precisely the reason why I would prefer Monsieur Cavalcanti to Monsieur Albert de Moncrief, responded Danglars with a smile he attempted to make sardonic. Still, I should not think the Moncriefs would yield preference to the Cavalcantis, said Monte Cristo. The Moncriefs. See here, Count, you are a gentleman, are you not? I hope so. And you understand something about heraldry? A little. Well, look at my coat of arms. It is worth more than Moncrief's, for though I may not be a baron by birth, I do at least keep to my own name, whereas Moncrief is not his name at all. Do you really mean that? I have been made a baron, so I actually am one. He has given himself the title of count, therefore he is not one at all. Impossible! Monsieur de Moncrief and I have been friends, or rather acquaintances, for the last 30 years. As you know, I make good use of my coat of arms, and I do for the simple reason that I never forget whence I sprang. Which shows either great pride or great humility, said Monte Cristo. When I was a clerk, Moncrief was but a simple fisherman. What was his name? Fernand Mondego. Are you sure of that? Good gracious, he has sold me enough fish for me to know his name. Then why are you letting his son marry your daughter? Because as Fernand and Danglars are both upstairs, have both been given a title of nobility and become rich, there is a great similarity between them except for one thing that has been said about him which has never been said about me. What is that? Nothing. I understand. What have you just told me has brought me back to my mind that I have heard his name in Greece. In connection to the Ali Pasha affair. Just so. That is a mystery I would give much to discover, replied Danglars. It would not be difficult. No doubt you have correspondents in Greece, perhaps at Janina. I have them everywhere. Why not write to your correspondent at Janina and ask him what part a certain Frenchman named Fernand played in the Ali Tebelin affair? You are right, exclaimed Danglars, rising quickly. I will write this very day, and if you receive any scandalous news, I will let you know. I should be much obliged. Danglars rushed out of the room and leaped into his carriage. All right, that was 44. See you guys next time.